Okay, good morning. It's just after Easter. And yeah, I'm Mark Burnett, Ableton Certified Trainer, and many other things. But this whole story with Ableton started for me actually nearly 10 years ago now. And the reason I'm making this video is because this weekend in the post I received my latest update to my certification, and that is the official Ableton Live 11 certification. It's taken a little while to arrive because we obviously know the past year has been a little bit complicated for everyone, or 2 years, or even 3. But what's also interesting is that my original certificate, which is in this fantastic paper carton here, was believed to be lost. And we were very carefully and specifically informed when we received our certificates that we would not get a replacement in the event that it got lost. Mine went missing about 6 years ago during the process of moving here to Germany. And having looked everywhere for it during the move, before the move and after the move, I was pretty convinced that somehow it had managed to get completely lost. But here it is. It turned up literally a few weeks ago. And it was in my record collection, because you might notice it's pretty much exactly the same size as a record, and my record collection is fairly massive. So at some point I obviously put it in there for safekeeping and stumbled across it in the midst of a vinyl session. So here it is. And try not to bend it. It obviously needs to go in a frame of some description now, but I got mine while Live 9 was actually the current version, which is nearly 10 years ago. And I did obviously at some point in the past few years write a careful email to one of the colleagues at Ableton. I say colleagues, the training certification team, to which I didn't get a reply. I wasn't really expecting them to send me another certificate, but the radio silence was a little bit damning. All I had then left was my Live 10 sticker, which I'd received after qualifying for Live 10 certification. And I've been looking after this sticker really carefully for a few years now, in the hope that maybe I get another certificate issued. But also wondering, with just a sticker, it doesn't look very legit. I mean, it is a legit sticker. It's embossed, it's nice, it says Ableton on it. But it's not quite so impressive on the wall on its own. But now I have also my 11 sticker, which arrived the other day. And I'm super chuffed to actually have this certification document officially here. So I'm going to put these 2 stickers. The question, of course, most important question is, of course, where and in what order and how. Because let's assume that, it's quite interesting, like Ableton Live 9 was the current version when I did my certification in 2013. And I believe, as the history of Ableton Live goes, that the first series of versions, or the first iterations of Ableton, were actually concurrent with the years from 2001. So 2001 was Live 1, 2002 was Live 2, 2003, 3, and all the way up to, I believe, 2007. And then there was a bit of a pause, I believe, before Live 8, and then a considerably longer pause before Live 9. That was somewhere in the region of 3 years, I believe that hiatus was. And now I'm struggling to remember actually, I still have the letter. So my Live 10 certification came to me in 2018. So by that time, we've lost 8 years from the year for year. Some people might think that that's a bit slack on updates, but actually Ableton continually release point version updates throughout the process, and I don't think there's really any reason to think that it's not a good idea to fully develop a worthy next level version before actually committing to a full numeric update, unlike some software companies, not naming any names, who seem to think that it's totally legit to bring out a new version and also charge for it pretty much on an annual basis. I also understand that sometimes that's the only way that they can actually make their software development work as a company. But anyway, so it took a while to get Live 11 off the board. It is an awesome update. It has many great things in it, and since then there have also been a couple of point updates, which of course are always free. And yeah, I mean, here it is, 12 years later. Oh no, sorry, 9 years later. We're 2013. I received my certificate. So yeah, what's the question is where am we going to stick them? I mean, assuming that we carry on like this and I reach the age of 80 approximately, still solidly flying the flag for Ableton, which is almost a little bit hard to imagine that a piece of software would stick around for so long, but MIDI's been doing okay. So let's assume that I'm going to get to Ableton Live 20. Wow, I wonder what's going to happen in Ableton Live 20. I mean, really, let's imagine for a minute in 2060. I mean, if we haven't killed everybody off or destroyed the planet by then, or managed to kill ourselves off, or actually maybe given up completely on technology and decided to go back to the wild, then Ableton 20 will be around. And if we imagine the almost exponential rate of technological development that we're experiencing, it is actually quite hard to imagine what that might actually be and whether it would even be necessary, or whether we're interacting with technology and digital creative tools in an entirely different way. I think that's easier for me to imagine than to try to imagine what the extra features in Ableton Live 20 would be. Yes, I mean, I imagine features like brainwave modulation plugins, if plugins even are a thing still, and I don't know, all kinds of crazy interdimensional supercomputing algorithmic synthesizer tables of wave or something like that. Anyway, so maybe actually imagining that this is going to have an Ableton Live 20 sticker on it is a little bit far-fetched. Let's imagine, well, if that did happen, I guess we would need, you can get 5 on each side, so we could get to 20. Oh, it's tough. It's tough. I mean, I could just go for the left and right approach here, but then it's going to look funky when 12 arrives. Well, maybe I'm going to need an extra flap to fold down at the bottom here to stick these things on. Anyway, while I mull over that, because I don't want to dive into making some kind of a... The other thing is it's obviously going to have to be OCD compliant, because I won't be able to handle it if it's some sort of weird asymmetrical thing. Or maybe I can. Maybe I've grown up enough to be able to manage my necessity for some kind of symmetry here. But I also wanted to make this video just to share with those of you that are interested in watching what's been happening with me and Ableton, because actually I've been kind of off the radar for the best part of probably 2 years now. And actually not to do with Corona, because obviously during Corona lots of people stayed at home and did stuff online, and my primary occupation has been, for the past 10 years, actually working with people online, helping them develop their Ableton Live skills, their production and live performance skills and techniques and technology. So for me it wasn't really a huge switch up, although there was obviously a little bit more conservatism in the kind of spending on hobbies department, which I do believe a number of my clients were. And then the professional clients that I had were also being extremely careful, because there's a huge amount of uncertainty as to what was going to happen with the music industry in general. There still is, although at least at this stage it looks for the most part like we're going to return to some kind of a normal economic model. I say normal in kind of dubious terms, because I don't actually believe that really what we're doing and how our economic systems are working is very sustainable. But that's an entirely other discussion. What I've been busy with the last couple of years is getting involved in making videos and doing live streams, because that was kind of one of the skills that I developed through teaching online. And that, combined with forming a new collaboration with a very good friend of mine, resulted in us setting up a company here in Leipzig called Future Fabric. And we concentrate primarily on making videos for people and producing live streams. That being said, we also then had the opportunity to take on quite an amazing space, which we have done. And during the past 2 years, we've primarily been preoccupied with moving from my old studio to this new space, decorating the place, which is 80% done at the moment. There's still some work to do in here on acoustics, and with delivering contracts for the clients that we have. Some very interesting and quite a broad spectrum of clients that we've picked up. However, it has resulted in me having left live a little bit alone, and my own personal music production and artistry has also sort of been on the peg for a while. But I'm hoping that this video, or rather the intention is that this video is the beginning of the next phase of the Live Lab. We launched semi-collaboratively, that's the Future Fabric and the Live Lab, because we kind of both now coexist in this space. Our first live show, which hopefully some of you will have seen. I'm just going to call it up on here to be 100% sure that it is available. So if we go to YouTube and type in Adblock Update, type in the Live Lab, here it is. So if you go to the Live Lab's the Live Lab's YouTube page, you'll find this video, which was our first live show from the space here. And I'm just going to actually skip into here a little bit. Oh no, this is me in my old studio. So we need to go back one. Yes. So the idea behind this show is that we do an interview with an artist, electronic music, or at least musician or band that has, at least in some degree, integrated some degree of technology, some degree of electronics into their performances, to talk with them about what they do, to get a performance out of them, and then to break down some of their performance and the technology that they've used in a little post interview where we kind of talk about, you know, all the nerdy stuff, which is kind of my the most interesting perspective on it for me. The space, of course, I'm sitting in right now, and if I just do a little pan here, yeah, I can see that at the back of the room there is the studio area, and the front of the room here is our office, I would say, with our screen, and there's some of the record collection where I found my Ableton certificate, and then we have obviously a sensibly sized bass box there, and then the DJ pult or DJ nest, and then kitchen and bar. And if I don't trip over the camera stand and make a full 360 here, there's a painting that was made during the first show that we did by an artist friend of ours from here in Leipzig, or rather based here in Leipzig. He's actually from Iran. And then we're going to come back round to here. So yes, that's the studio, and as I say, my intention at this point now is to relaunch the Live Lab, and it will be more focused on the things that actually led me to becoming a certified trainer in the first place. It's quite a long story, which I'm not going to share entirely with, but this process of having taken a step back from what I was doing gave me kind of unexpectedly, obviously, a little bit of time to reflect on what I'd been doing, what I enjoyed doing, what the parts of it that I really did like, the parts of the work that I really wasn't that keen on, and also perhaps connect a little bit more with what my core motivations were. And one of the things that I realized was that I just really love the whole thing about live performance, and that's of course what Live was originally developed for. It was to help musicians, to enable musicians to use computers to assist or to augment their performances. It's also a great studio tool, but that wasn't the primary objective. And that process of becoming a congruent with other DAWs kind of studio tool has taken a while, but I could fairly say that it's definitely on par with pretty much everything else that's out there in the studio. But where it excels is, of course, in the live environment, and that's why the Live Lab show, which we've launched, the studio sessions, is kind of keenly focused on that. Of course, it's also very interesting to find out about the individuals. It's very interesting to see the performance in action, but it's also for those of us who have a deeper interest in how that even works, great to see a little bit of what actually the technology is involved, whether it is Ableton Live or not. In the case of Berthold here, it's entirely hardware based, but that's not really, that doesn't really exclude it from interest from the people who have that kind of interest in technology and music making. And the other thing that I realized that I really loved doing was simply giving information to people, which eventually I ended up trying to, and to a certain degree, relatively successfully monetizing through teaching, through offering one-to-one sessions. But the more I went down that road, the more I found myself a little bit less satisfied with the process, because there's only so much that you can realistically charge somebody for a 1 hour session, especially when it's online. And that meant there was always a ceiling to the amount of work that I could do, and that ceiling meant that I had increasingly less time for my own projects, and that was kind of a little bit counterproductive. I mean, one of the reasons I really wanted to work with Live, and one of the reasons I went down the avenue of becoming a certified trainer was because I really had personally a massive interest in making music and performing, of which in the past I've done a considerable amount, but I feel that that's kind of slipped away, and I've become very much preoccupied with just the daily business of education, which of course is fine, but it wasn't really satisfying me, I don't believe. And it was also tying me to a schedule that wasn't really allowing me the time to be creative. I did try at the beginning of 2020 with some kind of slightly ridiculous challenge of producing, or rather finishing, 40 pieces of unfinished work in 40 weeks. I got as far as 10 in about 10 weeks, and then that of course was at the beginning of Corona, and then so many things changed during that time that it actually just became completely impractical to do, to continue that further, which again left me feeling a little bit like disappointed with myself for not having completed it, but also made me realize that I quite often bite off more than I can chew with projects, and also quite quickly get distracted by things. It's just part of my nature, and I've kind of learned to live with it, but it does leave me sometimes feeling a little bit like I'm not giving myself enough time or thought or consideration even, and thus ending up in positions where I've got quite a few unfinished projects lying around, which somehow results in me feeling a little bit like, oh my God, what am I doing with my life, and where is my direction? The outcome of all of this consideration and thought and perspective that I've gained over the last couple of years was, like I say, that the core thing that I liked doing was giving away information, giving it away. There was something incredibly satisfying about the process that I was going through in the run-up to becoming a certified trainer, where I was essentially trawling the internet for people who had unanswered questions about live, or who'd asked questions and received many confusing or even incorrect answers from various sources, and in some way trying to rectify that, or to just provide them with as concise and as detailed answer to their question as possible. And that is what I've decided I'm going to continue to do. Now that I have a fairly stable second job, let's call it, working with Future Fabric and delivering video content, I'm now hoping to be able to liberate myself and my skills a little bit from the need for that to generate an income, and go back to this concept of doing as much as I can to just support the community, and share as much of the knowledge that I have about this incredible piece of software and the many things that kind of go with it. So yes, this is, like I say, a little bit of one of my waffles about where I'm at, just to sort of share that as a starting point. I think this is mainly for me. Just wanted to actually make a start today, and when I came into the studio this morning, there was just way too much clutter and mess left here by some guests that we've had here over the last week, for me to really concentrate and to set things up and make a start on the videos. But I will be, from some point this week, beginning with a daily as possible live question round, call it that. Yes, like I say, it will be live. I'm just going to be here. I'm going to have Ableton up and running and the studio fired up. And if there's nobody online to ask me any questions, then I'm just going to go online and find questions that need answering and try to answer them as best as I can. So that's what the plan is. I'm also going to probably work out where to put these stickers, and then get this certificate here on the wall where it rightly should be. Yeah, so that's where I'm at. Thanks for paying some degree of attention. If you have been bothered to watch this, little kind of note to self. And yeah, I look forward to interacting more with all of you fantastic people in the very near future. Ciao for now.